Hello and welcome to this week's GG Weekend Watch, kindly sponsored by SBK, with your regular team of Andrew Mount, Daryl Carter and myself to guide you through this weekend's racing. And there is a lot of it yet again. Funnily enough, I feel like I say that every week at the minute, but we do have an absolute blockbuster show for you today. We have 15 scheduled races from 4 different meetings. We're going international as well. We're heading out to Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup as well, where we'll be covering 4 races from there. We're also heading to Aintree, Doncaster and Wincanton as well. So it's an international vibe as well today, but plenty of races and best bets to get through, of course. So we better get cracking. But before that, of course, we're going to separate the time out to discuss the winners that the lads had last week, because they were on fire. So they definitely deserve a little mention there for their winners last week. So we had Nasalam winning at 3-1 for Andrew, Soaring Glory at 5-1 for Andrew. Andrew again with Frodon at 3-1. Fusel Raffles for Daryl. Baybridge for Andrew at 6-5, as well as Half a Piece at 15-2. And Daryl, I believe Half a Piece was your nap, wasn't he?
Yeah, Napo last week. Yeah. Fusel Raffles was a bit of a lucky one, but I'll take that.
You've got to jump. You've got to jump.
Yeah, that's it.
Of the game.
Exactly.
Yeah,
of all the horses I tipped on this video, the only one I tipped in my column was Chamblou.
Right. So, Andrew, you know which way to take this, your column then this week. You need to go with your selections that you're going to be putting up on this show. Lesson learned, fingers burnt, as the old saying goes. So we better kick on because we have 1,000 races to cover. We're going to start at Aintree. This is in the 108 and a race that we all love to kick us off. It's another Potemps qualifier. So a 3.5 mile furlong handicap hurdle for 4-year-olds and over, where South Terrace currently heads the market. But Andrew, who actually wants to win this?
Yeah, this is quite an interesting one, actually. I know I was quite dismissive of the Cheltenham Potemps qualifier a couple of weeks ago, but interesting that the horse who'd run well in that race before and was an 11 or 12-year-old, the Newmarket Holland horse, won that one. So sometimes looking for horses who haven't got one eye on the final are quite happy to pick up 10 or 12 grand and win in the twilight of their career might be an angle. So yeah, I thought the World's End was half interesting on that age angle. I mean, you know what I mean. Harry won this as a 12-year-old last year. But I was going to side with Aquila Sky down the bottom of the weights. This one was a big improver last season when going over 3 miles over hurdles, winning both starts over this trip. And then on his reappearance, went over fences at Uttoxeter. Just didn't seem to take to them at all. So I'm assuming this is a case of plan B. We'll go back over hurdles. And if you can recapture the form he showed over this trip over hurdles last season, I thought he'd go well at a price around about 14-1.
Yeah, as you say, a nice price there, about 14-1 for Aquila Sky, but also a mention for the World's End. So going for one of these slightly older horses for both of those, but the main selection going to be Aquila Sky. Daryl, yourself, please, for this race.
Yeah, I've got a similar angle to Andrew's in terms of going for the older horses. But before I get started, I just wanted to do a bit of product placement. Just before, I never get to do this, but I got sent this from Hacked Up Racing, a Hurricane Fly mug. How cool is that? So I just wanted to give him a heads up before we get on with the 14 races and we lose half the audience.
I won't ask what the contents of that mug is.
Water. Very healthy.
Very.
Beer later. Yeah, I do like the World's End. I like 2, actually. I backed 2 in this race. I thought I'll back the World's End and I'll back Koshari. The World's End, you know, he's 9 for 26 under rules, right? He's dropped from a mark of 155 down to 144 for 2 Hunter Chase runs and a 6th in a Grade 1 long walk hurdle. So I know he's been raced sparingly over the last year or so. There might have been an issue, etc. But he's the class act in the field. If you go back and look at that long walk hurdle run, right? Paisley Park won it, was then 3rd in the Stayers. Time Hill was 2nd, but then won the Aintree Grade 1 at the end of the season. Roxana in 3rd, won a Grade 2, and then was 2nd to Time Hill at Aintree. The 4th was a Grade 2 winner. The 5th is a Grade 2 winner. The 7th rated 151. So being dropped for that race alone, you know, you can forgive that all day long. He's a 2-time Grade 1 with himself. He's a 2-time Grade 2 winner. I think this is like the easiest assignment he's had since 2018. He's down to a mark of 144, back in a handicap. He's a class act in the race. He's won fresh twice. including the Grade Two company. I think it's the first starting handicap company since 2017. I think he's got a big chance. I think he's been well overlooked in this market, and I can't. Perhaps it's because he needs to prove his well-being, but I think he's got a fair shout in here. The other one is Koshari, who is in first-time cheap pieces for a new yard today. This trainer has bought one horse over this season at Stratford, and they won quite impressively. In the last 5 seasons, I think he's brought over 24 runners, and he's won with 4 of them, so 17%, which is not too bad. But this horse, Koshari, you can forgive the last run at Punchestown over 2 miles 2 behind Wolfprint. Just had to make his own run in that day in a 3-runner field, and that trip is just far too sharp for him. Time before that, he was over hurdles for his last 3 starts, and it's the second time he hasn't really taken to fences. But prior to that, at Punchestown, he won a Grade B hurdle, beating Sceau and the Shunter and Peregrine Runner for mark of 143. He's off 149 today, but I'm pretty sure that they was trying to handicap this horse before that, because at Leopardstown he was a massive eye catcher behind Maze Runner off a mark of 144 over 3 miles. He's completely unexposed over the trip. He had too much to do at Cheltenham. I think he's a well handicapped horse. He's relatively lightly raced for his age as a 9-year-old, and I don't think he's either going to be one of those. He's on a mark now whether you either just have to get a win out of him, or he's going to just run into 6th, and it'll be something later on down the line. But I don't want to let him go unbacked as the outside of the field. I think you can get 20 to 1 on him. So the two of them, double figure prices, I'll back them both each way. I'm sure they'd be in the frame.
Yeah, definitely. So say Koshari is fascinating, isn't he? I mean, he was meant to be one of the gambles of the Cheltenham Festival week, wasn't he? Because of how much of an eye catcher he was at Leopardstown, and obviously, as you say, that didn't then come to fruition in the Coral Cup. But as you say, probably given too much to do there. And a huge shout for the World's End, who, from we know when he was at with us at Tom George's, he was never going to make up into a chaser.
You're still at Tom George's, isn't there?
Yes, yeah, it's still there now. Not quite as much as I'd like to be, but still there. Yeah. So any pointers you need, please send them my way, and I will do my best to probably put you away, unfortunately. Right. We'll move on to the next race at Aintree then. This is the 2:15. This is the Grand Sefton handicap chase over 2 mile 5. So our first sighter of the season at the big fences at Aintree. And yes, so we are over the Grand National fences for the Grand Sefton, where Time to Get Up heads the very open market. But he's only had 7 career starts, only 4 chase starts, and has never faced the national fences before, whereas Senior Citizen finished 3rd in the Topham Chase over these fences, as well as 7th in this race last year. So he's been around twice the sighter at these bigger fences, as is the case for Hogan's Heights, who has run over the national fences twice, got around twice as well, including winning this race in 2019. But Daryl, is course form over these fences something you really want to be siding with here?
Yeah, I think so. 7 of the last 10 winners of this race have run over the national fences, and 9 of the last 10 have run at Aintree before. So, am I right in saying that this race used to be run in December?
Yeah. Well, it caught me by surprise when I looked at it. I thought, oh, November? What?
Yeah, it did me as well, because I think 9 of the last 10 have had a prep run. So I don't know if that's going to quite work out for this, because it's moved. But yeah, a couple that you mentioned there, the ones that are interesting. I've not really got a strong opinion on who's come down on. I liked Cat Tiger. He was. I wish David Maxwell wasn't riding. That's hard to say, but I do, because when he was 3rd in the Fox Hunters, I thought David Maxwell was more tired than what the horse was. So that is slightly off-putting. But look, he puts a lot of money into the game. He's entitled to ride his own horses, that's for sure. He's handicapped to go well. Cat Tiger off a mark 134. He handled these fences pretty well. He's got good record fresh. Form things are 112. I think he's in decent form. He'll have a good shout. Senior Citizen, I'd just slightly worry about the ground for. He's one of my horses to follow. Won well at Market Racing last time. So Jack Yates is the other as well, not to write off. 5th in the National, 2nd in this race in 2020. £5 lower than National, same mark as last year's run. So fair record fresh as well. But I think I'll just side with Cat Tiger just at a push, but it's not a strong opinion.
Cat Tiger, so a huge mention there for the mighty Maxwell for Daryl Carter. Andrew, yourself, please, for this race. Yeah,
I picked Cat Tiger in the weekend on Wednesday this week, and I didn't realise David Maxwell was back. I thought it was, I thought he was out injured. So, but he was
tucked you up.
He was 12 to 1 for this race, but he was also entered in the Badger Beer, and he was the same price. So it was hard one to back anti-pose because you weren't sure where he was going to go. You suspected this race because of his form over the national fences. But 5 to 1 favouritism with David Bloody Maxwell, as it says on my race card, I'm not totally convinced. Fair play. Let's hope horse and jockey come back safely. But in terms of if it comes to a ding dong with a professional jockey, he's going to come off second best, isn't he? So I'm going to go with Hogan's Heights. I should say, there's an apostrophe in there. Who say didn't just win this; he absolutely bolted up in this race 2 years ago by 16 lengths. And last season, everything was geared towards the Grand National. We didn't see him until February. Then he ran, didn't stay the trip at Aintree, but still ran respectably. And as you said earlier, he got round. So Jamie Snowden started the season well. So Hogan's Heights to become another repeat winner of this race.
Yes, so as you say, repeat winner of the race there for Hogan's Height. Already had a couple of sighters at the fences and got round on both occasions. So good shout for him. And of course for Cat Tiger then as well. So we'll move away from the big fences to the 320. And we're going back to hurdles now for the Betway hurdle. This is a small runner field, understandably so. We're brewing up a storm, heads the market. Personally, I thought he was a favourite to take on in this race. For all his official rating does set the standard here, but he's just a horse I find really difficult to really say that's an accurate official rating. But he's had a wind operation since we last saw him, so that may well make the difference. But Andrew, back to you. Do you take him on, or do you think he is simply the best horse in this race?
Funnily enough, I started off like you, thinking, oh yeah, that rating looks a bit high, I want to take him on. Then you go back to that Taunton handicap hurdle win last season when he absolutely bolted up by 11 lengths off 148. You're thinking, he's won again since he won the game spirit. I was looking for chinks in his arm. I think, maybe he's best right-handed. I watched that Fontwell race again this morning. I thought, no, he jumped fine. You could argue, he was wide on the better ground that day. Maybe he was flattered, but I thought he's got to go well. He's had another wind up since we last saw him. He was 3-1 into 2-1 in the last hour or so since the betting's opened. So the price is gone now. Wild about Oscar. I thought had a good chance. I didn't like Summerville Boy. I know he won it last year, but I thought he shouldn't have won because if Harry Skelton hadn't been asleep on the favourite Chittabella, who came from out the clouds to finish second by half a length, he probably would have been second. But the one I'm going to side with, because she's the biggest price, is Martello Sky. I absolutely love this horse. She's fantastic when she's got small fields, nine or fewer runners, 5 wins and a second from 6 starts. She has won at Cheltenham, but it was a weak race, and she's been beaten there a couple of times. So I think flat tracks probably suit her. She made her usual at least one bad blunder per race at Market Raisin when she won on a comeback. She ultimately won that very easily, and I think she's just getting better and better. So I think she was 10-1 outsider of 6. I'll go Martello Sky.
Yeah, I have to agree with Martello Sky here. I thought that she was just too big a price to ignore how progressive she looks. And in the context of this race, I think she more than earns her place. Daryl, are you going to make it a hat trick or look elsewhere?
No. What?
No.
I was going to ask you, why has Summerville Boy been off since January? How come we didn't have a spring campaign? Ground or?
Yeah, no, he's had his little issues behind. I mean, that's what sort of when he had that run in the doldrums, that was when he just wasn't being seen to the same form. That was because of this issue that has just sort of repeated itself then again. But touch wood, now everything is absolutely fine with him. He just needed to get put away then for a while. It wasn't by design anyway. So yeah, hopefully coming out now. But he's a horse that it should go well fresh because he keeps himself unbelievably well fresh. He's become more relaxed as he's got older, but he is still a busy horse. He's quite light framed, so I wouldn't have much of an issue about him having this long a layoff as such. And that issue, as I say, has now been rectified. Touch wood, anyway.
Good, because he wins this. My goodness, he wins this. I don't believe that brewing up a storm form for 1 minute. Not for 1 minute. That Fontwell race was terrible. McFabulous jumped like a fridge. Molly's on his wishes did far too much too soon. It was terrible, and the form of his Taunton run is just no good for me. I don't think he was a fresh horse that day as well. Look, I think Summerville Boy takes all the beating in here. He doesn't quite get 3 miles. He's not quite quick enough for 2 miles. The middle trip is definitely his trip. He's had 2 runs over this trip, 2 for 3. The other was when he was beaten in the Grade 1 in Ireland. These don't come around very often, and that's why I was asking about the layoff, because I thought Tom would have been angling towards this race, if you like, given that these sort of distances don't come around too often for him at this level. I think he's had, if the cap fits, and Lisnagar Oscar in behind at Cheltenham last January in the Cleve hurdle. I mean, obviously Lisnagar Oscar reversed it in the Stayers hurdle, but my God, he did too much too soon that day. Summerville Boy was never going to get home the way he was going, how hard he was going early on. He's run with credit. He's been beaten just 3 lengths over 2 miles. I think he's rock solid at this level. He's getting £6 from brewing up a storm as well. I don't see how he gets beaten. I thought Wild About Oscar was the clear danger. Last year on this card, Wild About Oscar ran in the novice race, and he actually put up a really good time figure in comparison to Summerville boys winning this. But they did go very slow mid part of the race, and he was always prominent. So I don't know. I just thought Summerville boy should be clear favourite for me. I think the prices are wrong. They should be reversed at the top of the market.
Yeah, and as you say, for all that I can't ignore the price about Martello Sky, I mean, Summerville boy was the one who I agree I thought should have been favourite really for this race. And honestly, I don't have any fear about him having this layoff. And as you say, he will have been tuned for this race as much as Tom can do, but the horse helps himself out on that basis as well. So Daryl, I'll go back to you for anything else from Aintree, please.
No, I've got nothing else from Aintree.
No problem. Andrew, yourself, please.
No, not for me. Thanks, Kate.
No worries. Sure, we'll move on to Doncaster then. We've got enough other races to get through that we can leave the rest of Aintree. I'm pretty sure no one will crib us for that. So we'll move on to the 125 at Doncaster, moving back to the flat now. And we begin with the 0 to 105 handicap for 3-year-olds and over 7 furlongs, which looks a wide open contest. I have no idea how to solve this puzzle. So instead, I challenge you, Andrew, to do exactly that.
Well, I'll do my best. Interesting race. There's quite a lot of pace among the low numbers, but draw-wise, historically, maybe you want to be a little bit higher. Tom, for last year's winner from stall 13, has got 5 this time around. He was a bit of an eye-catcher when second at Leicester last time because he was badly drawn in stall 9 of 10. And although he ended up on the favoured strip down the centre, he did spend much of the early part of the race towards the stand side, which has been swamp-like for several years now, although no one told Jim Crowley a few meetings ago when he took my pick there. But of all the others, I mean, Marshall Dan, stall 1 might not be great, but he could bounce back from that Ascot 5th because he's got a bit of the Oxos about him at the moment. Good run, bad run, good run, etc. He is due a good one. Fresh, James Fanshaw's horses go well here. Coming from off the pace from that middle draw will be ideal, but he doesn't win often enough for me. Fresh, he keeps getting punted, and he's 6 to 1 again for this race. And you're thinking, well, when you're going to get your head in front, mate. And so the one that was Cold Stairs quite interesting at a big price, having finished second in this race 2 years ago. But the one I'm siding with is Boardman for the Tim Easterby yard. This is a horse Daryl and I think both tipped at Chester back in the spring when he won. And he ran an incredible race at York last time. He was drawn high in a race where you needed to be low. He's finished 22 to 1 5th of the 21 runners. And you look at the other high-drawn horses in that race who've come out and run since. Copper Knight, his stablemate, was 12th. He dead heated for first when 22 to 1 here at Doncaster next time. Magical Spirit finished 20th from a high draw. He was a 25 to 1 winner next time. I think that was also here at Donny. Mon Damage was last of the 21 runners. He won on the all-weather next time. There's loads of others as well who've come out and run well in defeat. So assuming stall 17 is going to be okay, then Boardman for me.
Wonderful. Boardman, yes, they had a decent enough price as well, around 10 to 1 on my showing at least. Anyway, there for Boardman. Daryl, yourself, please, for this race.
Oh, there was a lot in there that I liked. I agree with Andrew in terms of Boardman. He's only £1 above that last winning mark at Chester as well now, where he's gone up the weights and then he's slowly come down. But he gets soft ground for the first time since bolting up at Haydock, so he's got a good chance. I thought Fresh had a good chance back up to 7 furlongs. I thought 6 is too sharp for him. But the one I came down on was Bernardo O'Reilly. Stall 14, so drawn high, similar angle there to Andrew. This horse actually has a £15 swing with Fresh for beating him here last year. He's unexposed over 7 furlongs. He's one of these horses that's really bloody frustrating. He just runs on at the end of races. Yeah, he just runs on at the end. You're not about me, are you? He just runs on at the end. I reckon you could run him over 2 miles. He'd be finishing strongly in the race of those comments. But look, he's unexposed over 7 furlongs. Visually, he looks like he wants this sort of trip. He goes on any sort of ground. He's well handicapped enough to play a part in this. Yeah, he's got a £15 swing with a favourite, and he's a double figure price, and the favourite's 5 to 1. Yeah. I just thought he's got something. He's got a win in him. If you watch his run back at Newmarket when 3rd last time, he was one of the only horses the entire day to come from off the pace at Newmarket. And not only did he come off the pace, but he came off the pace and down the centre of the track, which was unfavoured all day, and he had to wait for a run. He finished with plenty of running there. left at the finish. So I thought he's gonna go in sooner or later, surely. Go on, the Bernard.
The Bernardo O'Reilly there.
That's it, Bernardo.
Bernardo.
Or maybe it's Bernard O'Reilly. Maybe I'm the middle name.
Emphasis on the double O's, please. That's the official pronunciation there. And backed in as well from his opening show at 28-1. He's now around 14. So Bernardo O'Reilly or Boardman for Andrew there as well. So two good mentions at two horses at really nice prices as well. So next race then at Doncaster we'll move on to, and it is the next race. It's the 205, and it's listed action now in the form of the Wentworth Stakes, which is over 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds and over. And again, it looks another wide open contest where King's Lynn heads the market in the hope of building on his 1 leg second in the Group 3 Bengoff Stakes from last time out. And he sets for standards on ratings here, but he does have to give at least £3 to his rivals. And is that enough to take him on here, Daryl?
I'm going to take one more. I'm going to take one last kick in the bollocks from King's Lynn this season, I think.
You haven't had enough talk.
He clearly loves Ascot, doesn't he? But I also think he likes it here at Donny. He was the next second off 92 last year. He's obviously improved massively since then. If just looking at his Wokingham run will tell you that. Perhaps that gelding operation probably brought forward a bit of an improvement. He was beaten under 2 lengths by Starman here under Starman's optimum conditions. I think this horse wants soft ground. I think he wants soft ground, Ascot or Doncaster. And if he doesn't want Doncaster, then I'm washing my hands with him completely. No more kicks for me. If you dissect this horse's profile, you have a look at him, 6 furlong soft ground runs. His form figures 2-3-2, RPRs of 100, 107 and 109. So he's clearly improving. I think this is what he wants. If you get rid of all of those runs over 5 furlongs, he's only had 8 runs over 6 furlongs. I just think conditions are ideal today. Soft ground, Doncaster. If this was at Ascot soft ground, I'd be backing him as well. But soft ground, Doncaster, I think. I don't know. I'm feeling like I'm making cases for this horse. He can't wait. He can't wait to have a go at me here.
So that is a very confident vote then for the glutton for punishment. That is Daryl Carter with a very masochistic selection there with King's Lynn in the hope to give him one last chance here up at Doncaster, and if all else fails, then lol. Andrew, yourself, are you boosting his clear confidence?
Well, I've spent the longest on this race. I spent an hour looking at this race because the first 55 minutes I was laughing when I saw King's Lynn was favourite, and I was just thinking of all the things I could say to Daryl when he had this one. But to be honest, historically, this race, and again, a lot of big field races that Donny on the straight course, you want to be held up, you want to be coming from off the pace. So in terms of King's Lynn's running style, he's very hard to crap. But again, he just doesn't win often enough for me. Store 1 might leave him a little bit exposed towards the far side. I couldn't be quite so dismissive as I normally am about him. I was originally interested in Ainsdale for this race. He's a horse I tipped at Ascot when he was 4th in that Group 3, the Diadem Stakes, was it the Bengoff Stakes a few weeks ago. Got a really good record in sort of October, November time. Got a visor on for the first time. Mason progeny generally respond well to headgear. The trouble is, so when he was 4th in the Ascot Group 3, he was best of those who raced prominently. The winner, 2nd and 3rd all came from off the pace. But the concern is with so many runners and so many other pace angles in the race, like your Dakota Goals, Punch Bowl Flyer, Vice and First Time Rhythm Master, Volatile Analyst, Sargon, and go on. I sort of thought, well, 7 of the last 10 winners have come from off the pace. Prominent 45 horses raced prominently, only 2 won. There's only 1 front runner. So I looked at Jouska for Henry Candy. He's not a trainer I'm a huge fan of. I think his horses often go off short and they should. He's a bit overrated. But you look at the last time this one had a sprint trip on soft ground. She was winning at Newmarket last back end in listed company at 18-1. Again, sort of fairly big field, race run to suit. She's going to have the race set up for her nicely here. The middle draw gives her options if there is an advantage to racing on one side or the other. She should get plenty of cover. So I'll go for Jouska or Jouska, excuse pronunciation, around about 12 or 14-1.
Yeah, as you say, I know. I'm starting to question now. I thought it was Jouska, but now I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
anyway, yes, she is 12-1.
Looking forward to Daryl singing soprano next week after yet another kick in the bollocks. I don't know how big your bollocks are, Daryl, but I don't think we can take much more.
What's that high-pitched sound on the show next week? No, he hasn't edited his sound on his phone there. No, it's just that King's Lynn has got Daryl again. So King's Lynn for Daryl and Juska for Andrew there at around a 12-1 shot in a very, very wide open race. And speaking of wide open races, Doncaster has been really kind to us this week, hasn't it, with its 3 races that we have scheduled to cover, because it's now onto the November handicap, which is an open handicap over a mile, 3 furlongs and 197 yards for 3-year-olds and over, where the current favourite is First Light, who on my showing is a 7-1 shot at the time of recording, which just goes to show you how wide open this race is. So Andrew, back to you to solve this race, please. And I expect a full trifecta, of course, as well.
Well, I might be able to give it to you as well, but I got a 4 pick. Yeah, when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, crikey, I'm going to play my get out of jail free card. But when I dug into it a little deeper, I thought there was a couple that were worth backing at big prices. And those are HMS President and Graphite, who both ran in the same 1.5 handicap at Goodwood last time out. Now, that was a race in which it paid to be on the front end. 4 of the first 5 home were up with the pace throughout. And HMS President did second best of the hold-up horses that day, and was also switched to that far rail to challenge, and basically was in the treacle. You know, everything was sort of winning down the centre or even towards the stand side. Graphite was only, I think, 9th in that race, but did 5th best of those who came from off the pace. And again, this, like the Wentworth Stakes, is a race generally you want to be coming from off the pace, and you want to be drawn middle to high. I think in the last 10 years, horses drawn between stalls 1 and 7 or 0 from 70. And the expected wins was getting on for 3, I think. So fair sample size, and Doncaster, big field, round course, late and wide down the middle is going to be the place to be. So HMS President, I think 28-1 or thereabouts. Graphite, I've seen 40-1. And again, only one of the other hold-up horses has come out of that Goodwood race and run since, and improved his Racing Post rating by £15. So if one or t'other can do that, then we, with luck, we should have one of the pair in the frame at least.
Yes, certainly. So as you say, Graphite around 40-1 and around 28-1 then for HMS President as well. So if that exacta comes off, then you may as well retire on the spot, Andrew, because that will be unbelievable. Daryl, trifecta from yourself, please.
No chance. I was quite impressed with that, what you did there. I've not got no strong opinion. Again, this was, like Andrew said, this was going to be my get out of jail free card. I thought Farhan was interesting at double figure price. I think you tipped him last time, Andrew, behind Siskani, didn't you? Farhan.
Rings a very well. But you have to remember, I'm old now, so I can't remember.
But it quite impressed me chasing over Siskani. I thought he was given a fair bit to do there. Off a mark of 83, he's up to a mark of 87. I just thought that was another step forward. I thought he's a horse that's been taking small steps forward throughout the season. Softer surface here at the foot of the weights, wide draw. I thought he wanted to be wide as well. Just get out of all that early scrimmaging for any sort of position. It never normally pans out around Doncaster. Chester didn't suit him on his penultimate start. He's looking for a stiffer test there. He's completely unexposed. And again at Sandown, he chased home rewired, and he just the line came too quick for him, and he just finished with a power pack punch. And I'm pretty sure Holly Doyle on. I'm pretty sure this horse has got a lot more to come off a mark of 87. This is definitely his trip. So it would be a wild stab, really, because we've switched our thinking over to the national hunt season, haven't we? Yeah.
Yes, we have completely. As you say, I think that most people are in full jump mode now. So having the November handicap, one of the trickiest handicaps in general to solve at this stage of the season, just sort of blows my mind. But a good mention there for Farhan anyway, and still a decent price around 14-1 as well. So some big price horses to be siding with there, but it is a really tricky race. So Daryl, I'm going to go back to you for anything else from Doncaster if you're still holding on to any of the flat season.
I have got 2 bets that I think I need to check prices on at Doncaster. In the 1150 Wonderful World, this horse has been on the radar all season. She's definitely well handicapped. She finished really strongly when I was at Newbury the other day. I want to keep her on side. And then Gifted Ruler in the 345. My goodness me, I backed this horse. I tipped this horse at 20-1 last time it ran. Jane Elliott, bless her, gave the horse terrible ride. Waiting for room, got the gap, decided to wait and wait and wait and wait for what felt like an age. And then Mole's Memory came with a run, picked up a head of steam and just gave the horse first run, and then finally picked up strongly, finished out the line powerfully. But my point being is that this horse only had a couple of starts on soft ground. This soft ground is definitely what the horse wants. Back at Doncaster, where he's run well before, I think he's got a good chance. Gifted Ruler in the 3:45.
Yeah, Gifted Ruler in the 3:45 with Luke Caston taking the ride this time around, and in the 11:50, Wonderful World there in the opener. So bookending the card there for Daryl. Andrew, yourself, please, for anything else from Doncaster?
Yeah, that 3:45 race as well. I was half interested in Assad for Mick Appleby. When he ran at Leicester last time in the Abel Kane Tomfra race, he was drawn 10 of 10. He raced alone on the stand side rail, which is not the place to be. So I thought, I want to be with him next time. The market will probably overreact to that performance. The trouble is he's a front runner, and there's 17, 18 runners. I haven't been through the pace map yet, but I imagine there's other pace angles in the race. So, Assad's worth half a look, depending how the track's riding, but might be one for the time after.
Yeah, as you say, then Assad in the 3:45 at Doncaster for Andrew there. So that's all of our action done at Doncaster. We're on to another new meeting now, and we are heading to the West Country. We are heading to Wincanton, which hosts one of its feature meetings of the season, where we begin with a cracking race. It's the 150. It's the Grade 2 Rising Stars Novices Chase over 2 mile 4 over for 4-year-olds and over, even, where Brave Man's Game is a very short price, the odds on favourite at the head of the market. I'm gutted that Hardy Desoy hasn't been cited at this race, so I was really hoping he was going to take up this engagement and basically be the next Garlaw, but alas, he hasn't turned up here. So Andrew, were you blown away like many people for Brave Man's Game's chasing Davy last time out at Newton Abbot?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, you look at it, it's Newton Abbott form, but then you think, he was visually impressive, and the form's been franked by Fusel Raffles, albeit, might have been fortunate to win the Charlie Hall, but
that's one of Daryl's best bets of last weekend. Thank you very much.
No, exactly. But either way, you're still getting paid, so it doesn't really matter whether you're
exactly.
Or not. But I sort of thought, is he going to be better left-handed rather than right-handed? I watched the replays of his race and thought there's no evidence for that. I mean, Nichols has sent a few sort of short price ones to this race in recent years who haven't got beaten after jumping out to their left and looking like they wanted to go the other way around. The odds-on favourite who finished last in 3 in this race last year, for example. So I might be clutching at straws, but thinking there is just that slight doubt that he hasn't gone over fences right-handed under rules before. So at 7 to 4 on, I can leave him alone. I mean, in terms of profile and ratings, Mick Pastor I thought was a big price, the stablemate, around about 8 to 1, and obviously he's up in grade, having won a Class 3 novices handicap chase at Exeter last time out. But I just thought, at the prices, I'll have my token pound on him, Mick Pastor.
Yeah, at least you didn't insult the lottery there and instead this time. Yes. So Mick Pastor, the stablemate of the odds-on favourite there, Brave Man's Game, is going to get the vote for Andrew. Daryl, do you also take on Brave Man's Game?
I mean, I was going to say I'll look in the without markets at Mick Pastor, given the price that they've offered about him just to win. He might be interested. Mick Pastor did jump slightly to the left, start jumping out to the left at Exeter last time, though. That would be a slight concern. And he was fractious beforehand. He's a nutter, I think, this Mick Pastor. I think he's a bit of a nutcase, but he's some blooming weapon, I reckon. He needs good ground. So I'm very, very surprised that they're putting Mick Pastor in here with Brave Man's Game, put it that way. I do think Brave Man's Game is very good. I think he's probably going to mop up most things over this side of the water this season. And until he meets the Irish, it's going to be struggle to get him beat, I think. But I don't back at 7 to 4. So, yeah, I'd side with Mick Pastor as well to maybe cause a bit of an upset.
Yes, so as you say, both of the lads, they're looking for horses at bigger prices rather than backing a 4 to 9 shot at current time of recording. And that's not exactly going to lengthen from then, is it, either? Apologies. My light is going because my kitten is currently pulling the lead on it. So if you all of a sudden see everything go dark, it's because I have a tiny little furry thing there causing havoc. So she's now decided to leave, thank goodness. For 2:25, we'll move on to swiftly at Wincanton, and it's the turn of the mares in a mare's handicap hurdle over 2 mile 5, which just looks a fascinating contest. Some really likeable mares coming into this race in good form. Now, I am having a bet in this race. I finally have found a race where I can have a bet for once in this race. It's not that exciting, really. It's only the second one in with Rose of Arcadia, who is about a 5-1 shot currently for the Flying Colin Tizard yard, because I just think this mare looks another well-handicapped horse on the back of her 4-race season last campaign, where, as was well documented, nothing went right for the Tizard yard, and they're reaping their rewards now because they have a whole host of well-handicapped horses, and now the yard is healthy again. They're picking up races left, right, and centre. So hopefully Rose of Arcadia can build on her win from last season, which she could be marked up for, I think, due to the yard's form, as mentioned. But crucially, that win came over this course and distance. The horse she beat in that mare's novices hurdle won her next 2 starts, is now rated 128. The third horse won her next start, is now rated 132. The fourth finished second on her next start and is rated 122. So that was a decent little race, but also makes this mark of 119 look very feasible for Rose of Arcadia to overcome with the yard in such good form. And this would be an awful lot easier for Rose of Arcadia than the grade 2 handicap she faced on her final start of last season. So there is one of my very few bets that I have on Saturday. However, in a wide open race, Daryl, who do you side with?
I forgot to tell you that the mention of yard form on this show is banned.
No, never.
Because it's absolute nonsense.
Do you think?
Nonsense? I honestly think it's absolute nonsense. I mean, you answered your own question in your speech there, because they've now got well handicapped horses. People would tend to tell you that a yard is out of form because they haven't got well handicapped horses. And then because they run poorly, them horses then become well handicapped, and all of a sudden they're in form. Well, it's not because the yard's in form; it's because then horses are now waiting to go well. And there's lots of other reasons as well. You can't quantify yard form. So anyway,
actually, I have to disagree with you there. From working in a yard and seeing protein imbalances in hays and sick horses,
outside of like on a bug or the feed being wrong. For example, Colin Tizard is a very similar case to that sort of thing, where he lost his daughter last year who was running the operation in the yard. Those sort of things, outside of those sort of things, when horses are individual animals, and for me, you can't quantify them as a group of horses being below form or above form. It's like saying, well, his last 6 horses that run over 3 miles on soft ground have all been beaten. So this one on Saturday over 2 miles on good to firm ground is going to get beaten. It's absolutely no relevance. You get what I mean? Listen, everyone will tell me I'm wrong because it's just easy to fall in line with the whole, like on racing TV or whatever, when people say, "Oh, the yard's not had many winners this week." It doesn't matter. It's not this horse.
I agree with you to a certain point, Daryl, that small sample sizes are often used, and they'll say, "Oh, the stable's 0 from 25 in the last fortnight." And you look at that and think, well, only 2 of those were favourite, and they both finished second, kind of thing. And the expected number of winners from that 25 race sample was 1.4 or something like that. So it wasn't exactly massive. But and again with UK, when they've gone 50, 60 runners without a winner, they're travelling well, they're not finishing their races, which was the case with some of the Tizard was last season. And then the trainer comes out and says, "We've got a bug. We're closing the yard for 3 weeks, or we're deep cleaning and that sort of thing because we're worried about X, Y, and Z." So I think
that's exactly my point. There's if there's an underlying reason which is out of the ordinary like that, then I totally get it and I totally agree. But in terms of like the short term, when people are just using it as an easy thing to say, like, "Oh, the yard is out of form because of it," it's just something to say.
I've been guilty of that on the radio, and if there was a prize for bringing an out of form yard back to form, I'd get it, because I'd say stable's a bit quiet. They haven't had a winner for 6 weeks, and then bang, 33-1.
Kate's now going to be worried about every time she mentions Sharp. I'm going to be going.
I can just feel the stare, the burn. No, to be fair, as we've just to go back around again, just to briefly summarise, I just say I think that the Tizard yard were hideously out of form because they were sick in the main, and that was shown over an entire season. But as you say, it is something that is very often bounded about in the short term, which, as you say, you can then overlook, and it's not a label to put on absolutely everything, unless it's a Tizard yard from last season. Hence why Rose of Arcadia is going to win.
I actually like
thank you for your selection.
Yeah.
Yes, your selection.
I'll be very quick. Yes, I like Impressive Lady here. Lucy Gardner is a fantastic jockey. Don't get me wrong, but Sean Houlihan is a massive upgrade here for this horse. This horse was very much on the up last season. Destroyed a good field at Sandown before bumping into Molly Ollie's Wishes, for which I felt Lucy wasn't quite strong enough with the horse at the finish over the last couple of hurdles. The horse stayed on really strongly at the end of that 3 mile trip there. Drop back and trip today is definitely in this horse's favour, as is the jock claiming £3. 2 for 3 right handed. Only had 3 starts in handicaps. Forgive the last one. Molly's Ollie's Wishes is obviously £16 higher in the handicap. This horse is now effectively £1 lower. So Impressive Lady for me.
Cool. Impressive Lady with Sean Houlihan now booked to ride. Andrew, please, for this race.
Yeah, this was another race where I thought, oh, I'm not going to have a selection. Then I looked into it a little bit deeper and thought, actually, it's quite interesting. Historically, it pays to be on the front end in this race, as it does in most races at Wincanton, hurdles or fences. And last time out winners have got a shocking record in this, 0 from 25 in the last 10 runnings. Now, 3 of the last 4 winners ran in that Grade 2 mares handicap hurdle final at Newbury in the spring, and Rose of Arcadia qualifiers on that front. If you just backed all the horses that were dropping from Class 1 to Class 2 level in this race, 5 winners from 21 and a profit of £13.50. So Rose of Arcadia qualifies on that angle.
Very good.
And of course, like you say, if you'd backed all Tizard runners in handicaps this autumn who've been off the track for 150 days or longer, i.e. making their seasonal debut, then you'd have been in front as well. So I'm with you, Rose of Arcadia. I really like this one. I'd bet her at 6 to 1. And that price is rapidly disappearing. So be quick, Kate. Be quick.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, the finger's on the button right now to make sure, as we gang up on Daryl there with Rose of Arcadia, and what is a really interesting race there, that mare's handicap hurdle. So delighted that Andrew agrees on Rose of Arcadia. So the 3 o'clock at Wincanton, the very next race on the card. And it's now on to the Badger Beer handicap chase, which is a listed 0 to 155 handicap over 3 mile 1 for 4-year-olds and over. And we talk about Cheltenham Festival pointers for races early in the season. And we very often find ourselves talking about potential Grand National contenders on the back of the Badger Beer, though, more often than not. But whether that will happen this year or not, I don't know. So yet again, wide open race for you to solve, Andrew.
Yeah, the usual thing you do in this race is say, what's Paul Nicholls got? Present man who used to be a standing dish in this race. He's got a couple, Truckers Large and Highland Hunter, but I'm going to go with the Colin Tizard angle. Just have a few quid on of all the gin joints in the first time blinkers. This has been a real positive stat for chasers from the Tizard yard over 3 miles or further. In his career, I think it's 11 winners from 39. Plus £67, 58 to a £1 level stake. So generally speaking, you want to be on the front end. So I thought the first time blinkers, forcing ride, probably be a win bet, because it'll be an all or nothing kind of wager. So of all the gin joints, around about 18 to 1. But I've not been through this in enough detail to be confident.
To be fair, you've only had about 2 hours to go through all of these races. So that is fair to the pair of you. But of all the gin joints, had a big price there, but probably win only bet in the Badger Beer. Daryl.
Win only bet for me as well. Again, I've got a lot of work to do. So I'm working at Wincanton on Saturday, so I've got loads to do yet. But Irish Prophecy, I was quite impressed with him last time at Wincanton last month. He didn't finish with plenty in hand. That was career best on all known figures. He actually hasn't got much to find at all with the likes of Potterman and El Presente either. Is he well handicapped off 144 now? Probably not. He'll need to improve again. But it was a career best performance last time, so there's no saying what he's got in the tank, really. The time before at Chepstow, I thought he was quite eye-catching when 5th behind Chirico Vallis, who's got to be some horse to the way that race has worked out. I thought he was quite eye-catching, so I think he might just be able to take another step forward here. He's got some decent form, back form. Clearly likes it at Wincanton. He's 2 for 3 at this course, so yeah, he's a fair enough price at around 7, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. He was the horse that was catching my eye here of Irish Prophecy, because I was so impressed with that win at Wincanton. So that is the Badger Beer. Say the lads will go into any more detail there in their columns, that you can catch up with any changes to selections, or once they've gone through, the entire field there, which is a wide open race. So it'll probably take some time. You can find those selections on the website at GG.CO.UK or on their social media pages. Now we're moving on to our last scheduled race at Wincanton. This is a 355, a really likable race, which I always enjoy. It's the Grade 2 Elite Hurdle over 1 mile, 7 furlongs and 50 yards. Crucially, for 4-year-olds and over, where the super likeable Sceau Royal currently heads the market, has evident claims for the win, following his impressive reappearance win in a listed hurdle at Kempton, where he defeated Silver Streak, who I'm just not sure gave his true running. However, Sceau Royal is a horse you can rely on to turn up and run well, provided the ground is good, which we do know is key to him. However, again, I'm having a bet in this race. I'm taking him on with Goshen at second in the market here. Here we go.
Sorry.
Here
No. He calls me an ag last year. You can have him.
This is the jumps version of King's Lynn.
Course and distance. It's absolutely fine. He's an enigma. I think that's very fair to say. He's an absolute enigma, this horse. But as I say, I think he is the most talented horse in this race when everything goes right for him. And if he can just post the same performance as he did in Wincanton's feature race of their season, the Grade 2 Kingwell Hurdle, then that doesn't get him beaten for me. It's just whether or not he'll turn up in that form again over this course and distance. So I'd be wanting to side with him, not as the favourites, because of those fears, but at a slightly bigger price, he's worth chancing for me. But Daryl, back to you. Guessing you're not going for Goshen.
Well, no, I do think Goshen is a very, very, very good horse. I mean, I fancied him last year for the champion hurdle. That went to pot, obviously. We know he needs to go right-handed now. Do you know what? You don't win races by 22 lengths the way he did it by being a bad horse. You don't. And there's so many people give him so much stick for just having a couple of poor runs, jumping out to the right or whatever. I'm just worried that he's just a relentless galloper and he's just got what sort of one cruising speed and that's it. And I don't know if he needs soft ground to do that. I just worry that if Sceau Royal sits on his tail or sits just off the leaders, because he's going to want to go forward, Goshen. Soul Pretender's going to want to go forward. Takani's going to want to go forward. I think it could set it up for like a Belfast Banter or a Sceau Royal in particular. If Sceau Royal sits close enough, if he jumps upside Goshen, he's going to have to faster turn a foot on this ground. There's no doubt about it. Sceau Royal's got a glittering CV. I mean, if it weren't for the likes of Alti or an Epitome, he'd be a dual Grade 1 winner. Yeah. I think it's very, very tight. I think tactically it's going to be very, very interesting. I think I would just side with... I'm not going to back Sceau Royal at the price. I'm just probably going to sit back and watch. I think Sceau Royal's the right favourite. Goshen, you're quite right, could put in an exceptional performance. And Soul Pretender's not one to write off either. This horse is a brilliant jumper of a hurdle. He's only a 7-year-old. He's making up for lost time. He's got some nice Irish form. I think it's very competitive. So no bet for me, but I'd like to see Sceau Royal win. I love the horse. I think he's been brilliant for horse racing, Sceau Royal.
Yeah, he has been, hasn't he? And as you say, if he goes and wins this and beats Goshen, then I'm not going to feel bad about that whatsoever, because he is just such a hero, isn't he? Sceau Royal, and a real fan favourite. Andrew, do you have any stronger opinions on this race?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't put you off backing Goshen at 9-4, given Goshen, as he's so good right-handed, but yeah, I'd rather go for a bigger price one. I'm going to go Soul Pretender, who was only 8th of 20 of the Galway Hurdle last time with a 7-1 shot, but he was beaten in that race last year as well. And 5 of his previous defeats, so 4 of his 5 previous defeats have been followed by a win. He was second in the other one, so he often bounces back with a good performance, usually in a smaller field. He doesn't have to lead. A couple of his wins came when sort of just sitting in second place behind the leader. So that's the only sort of slight concern, that he might get into a ding-dong early doors with Goshen, but hopefully he'll just take a lead from that one, track the pace, and what is he, 10-1 or something like that? I thought he was the one worth a tentative stab.
Yeah, I'd say around 10-1 there for Soul Pretender. So both of the lads giving Soul Pretender a really favourable mention as well. And he hasn't got that much to find on official ratings either, with the 2 at the head of the market. So he does look a very interesting contender in this race. But that is us done for the scheduled races at Wincanton. So Andrew, back to you, please, for anything else from Wincanton.
No, nothing for me.
No, Daryl, you're going to be there. Have you gone through any of the other races?
Not yet. I haven't done the work for it yet, to be honest with you. 14 races in what, 3.5 hours was
yes, completely fair. And as you say, you're going to be there anyway, so that's you can save all the rest of those for then and for your column as well. So we're going to go international then. That's covered all of our domestic action. We're going to Del Mar now, and make sure you get either a good lie-in on Saturday morning, a nap in the middle of the day, in Andrew's case potentially, but no change there, because we're going to have a late night on Saturday night. night to be enjoying the Breeders' Cup on what is the second day of the Breeders' Cup, of course, and is going to be the card on Saturday that we're going to be focusing on. And we begin with none other than the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf over a mile 3, where the Europeans are well represented, probably with a flag bearer that is Audaria, the winner of this race last year. But Daryl, can she win it again?
I don't know. She's been disappointing since, hasn't she? I've backed her a couple of times thinking she was a good thing in a couple of these races, and she's just disappointed. I think Love's disappointing as well. I don't know. I like this 3-year-old Aquila for Jer Lyons. I think this horse is on the upgrade, whereas I think the other two have got a little bit to prove at the minute. She was a good winner of the Snow Fairy Stakes at the Curragh. Then she got no run behind Snow Speak Alexander in the Matron Stakes. Mother Earth was in that race. I thought that was quite a deep race. I think she is on the upgrade. It's interesting that they take her out here. I mean, I don't know enough about the American horses, etc., to really get involved. But I thought, in terms of the British or the Irish contingent, I thought Aquila was probably going to be a fair price, and I think it's probably underestimated on the back of her last performance when 7th.
Yes, we say so. Aquila there for Jer Lyons to come to the fore, but what is a very, very tricky race for us to open up with for our Breeders' Cup action. Andrew, yourself, please, for this race.
Yeah, I should mention, because we're back at Del Mar, which is incredibly tight. There was a good piece by our radio colleague Ali Jones in the Weekender, who basically said it's like running Champions Day at Chester, and it's going to make life very tough for those drawn wide, which obviously brings in last year's winner. So I was going to go for one of the other European raiders, Rougier, the French horse, who can take a bit of a tug, and just seems to be a case of the bigger the field, the stronger the pace, the better she runs. And I thought she's going to love the tempo of an American race here, so she'll do for me around about 6-1.
Yeah, Rougier there, so that will be really interesting. They're the seal away colours, aren't they, as well? So hopefully for the owners for a nice couple of weeks then for them. But yes, that is going to be fascinating, both siding with the European runners. And as you say, I just think she's so worth taking on. She's not the same horse this year. I mean, her head carriage doesn't convince me. It's almost as though she can't get the wind in quite as she did last season. I think there's an underlying issue there more so than just her beating inferior opposition last season. So yeah, she's worth taking on, and both taking on Audaria as well. So very interesting. And we're going to move to the 10:20 at Del Mar. We move on to the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup mile on the turf, funnily enough, over a mile. And again, the Europeans have a very good representation. We have Master of the Seas, Space Blues, and Mother Earth in here, to name a few. But Andrew, can the Europeans reign supreme in this race again?
Possibly. I mean, I love Space Blues, but at 9-4 over this trip, I'm sort of quite happy to leave them alone. I'm more interested in Master of the Seas, actually, given that, again, like Rougier, he can take a bit of a tug, and I just sort of store one. Hopefully he can. He doesn't get shuffled back early and meet trouble. But I thought at double-figure prices, maybe Master of the Seas could give us a run for our money. But I've really no strong opinion in this race or many of the Breeders' Cup races.
Yeah, no, completely. Like I say, it's there to enjoy as much as anything else. Daryl, any strong opinions from yourself, please?
Echo Andrew's thoughts, but I do think Space Blues is the one to probably be on. I think this style of racing is really going to suit him. They tend to go very, very hard early on, don't they? He's also 2 for 2 on fast ground. I actually think he's been getting away with soft ground over here and over France. I think faster ground will see him to better effect. He actually didn't stay a mile earlier on in his career, but everything he does nowadays, his best work comes right at the finish. That includes heavy ground that's over 7 furlongs. I think he'd have no issue at all getting this mile. I think the style of racing will definitely suit him. He's a proper horse, isn't he?
Yeah, he's cool. He is really cool, Space Blues. I don't think anyone can say that he isn't. But both going for the Charlie Appleby Godolphin runners there, for Master of the Seas for Andrew tentatively, and Space Blues then for Daryl in the hope that he can bring up the hat trick. So we'll move on to the 11:40. Geez, we're getting late now for the Breeders' Cup turf. This is over a mile 4, where I think Bolshoi Ballet, at the time of recording, he still needs one to come out to get into this race. So it'll be interesting if Ballydoyle do sacrifice Broome or Japan, or if they roll the dice and hope that another runner comes out or gets scratched, as I should say, really, shouldn't I? But a brilliant race, as always. European representation throughout. Can Tarnawa do it again this year, or is her title under threat, Daryl?
I think she can. I know she's drawn in stall 13. They say you can't win from that draw over there. But last year at Kingland, she was held up of a steadily run in a steadily run race. She was forced about 7 wide, and she was just electric. She was just so good. The way she passed Magical and the likes of Lord North was just so impressive. Now, I know there's a lot of people saying that she's a good mare, but she's not a great mare. But I don't know, on fast ground, on fast ground over there, I think she's going to take a world of being. I think she could be very, very, very good. I do. Yeah. These mares tend to improve, don't they, with age, like Magical did, etc. I still think she's in the upgrade. I like her. I like her chances for this. I wouldn't be backing her at the prices, but I think she's got a cracking chance.
Oh, wonderful. And hopefully to be the first mare to win 2 Breeders' Cup turfs as well. So that will be fascinating. And what a role of honour she will be joining then for dual winners of this race. Andrew, yourself, please.
Again, no strong opinion. I was half interested in Walton Street from a useful draw. Winner of the Canadian International last time. Winner in Dubai, obviously well-travelled and, should take proceedings well. So, Walton Street, another tentative stab.
Yep, so another Godolphin, Charlie Appleby runner there, Walton Street to hopefully get another North American win to go with that Woodbine win from last time out. Now, the last race there at Dalmarnock, our last scheduled race, is the 1240 from Del Mar, and it's the big one. It's the Breeders' Cup Classic, which is a Grade 1 over a mile 2 on the dirt for 3-year-olds and over. Plenty of horses our viewers and listeners will have heard of, even if they don't follow American racing. So it's a fascinating race. But who wins the Classic, Andrew?
Haven't a clue. Get out of jail card being played.
No, this is my get out of jail card.
Not had time to look
getting
at
out
this
of jail
race
free on the Classic. Really?
I'll go with Bill Mott's Art Collector.
Art Collector. There you go to bring up the 4-timer. Right, Daryl, you've already been snubbed for this race, so you've also got to give a token gesture from the American horses.
I don't know. Medina Spirit.
Yeah, that's it. At least viewers and listeners will know exactly who Medina Spirit is. Not necessarily for the positive reasons, but at least then we've got a name that we can chuck into the mix. Still, as I say, you don't have to have a bet in all of these races, as we touch upon time and time again.
It's safe for gambling week as well, so you'd be.
It is so a good reminder if you don't
follow our Breeders' Cup selections in that last race in particular. So.
Exactly. And the lads do not profess to be dirt American racing experts, which is probably about right. They've got enough domestic action to be covering rather than having to really dig into the stats and the facts all about something we've really only paid that much attention to once or twice a year. So, but just enjoy it. Just enjoy that race anyway. So, funnily enough, anything else from the Breeders' Cup, Daryl?
No, thank you.
Andrew, anything else?
Surprisingly, no.
No. Andrew, back to you for anything else more closer to home.
No, there probably will be in my column on Saturday, but I've not had a chance to look.
No, funnily enough, no. You can't pause time to have had a look for anything else. Daryl, were you capable of pausing time to allow the time to look at any other races? No, completely understandable. So all that is left to do is to get your naps. Goodness me, I can't believe we're still inside the hour. This is pretty good going, lads, so I'm delighted with this. So naps, please. Daryl, back to you for your nap.
Summerville boy, 320, Aintree.
Go on, Summerville. Wonderful. Summerville boy there at Aintree. Andrew, back to yourself, please.
I'm Rose of Arcadia or Boardman. I'll go Boardman in 125 at Donny.
Thank you for going for Boardman there at Donny, because I am going Rose of Arcadia for my nap in the 225 at Wincanton. So that is everything from us today. The lads are going to go and have a lie down because they've had to cover 20,000 races in the space of 4 hours since declarations came out there and to get themselves set up for today. But any further selections, as we say every week, will be found on the website at GG.CO.UK or on any of our social media channels. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for staying with us through yet another marathon. Thanks to the lads for all their work. Thanks to our sponsors, SBK, of course. And we hope you enjoy this weekend's action most of all. We'll catch up with you next week.